everyone, I'm Artur and welcome to Reimagine 2020. Today I have with me Soravis from Band Protocol, Oracle platform that's made a meteoric rise this year. So excited to learn more about Band Protocol and all things Oracle. Welcome, Soravis.
All right, thank you for having me, Artur.
So, let's get into it. Can you tell me a little bit about what is Band Protocol and how did you kind of come to where you are today?
For sure. So I guess I started off as an introduction. So my name is Soravis. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Band Protocol. And a short history of myself. I'm an engineer by training. So I did computer science at Stanford for my undergrad. That's when I sort of got into Bitcoin around 2013. When I studied cryptography class, right, with Dan Bonet. And that's how I sort of purchased my first Bitcoin, got together with my other Thai communities. I'm Thai, by the way, if you can tell from my name. So, it was a really small communities back then, right? And all of us were really excited about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And so I started off as an investor myself, invested in a lot of these tokens, ICOs back in the day. And while on the side, I was a management consultant for 2 years at BCG. And then in early 2017, that's when I decided that, I really want to pursue blockchain full time. There's a lot more to learn, not just on the investing side, but also on the technical side of things, right? Our industry were really early. We still were early. And so I got together with my two other co-founders from MIT. They were also into Bitcoin around the same time. And that's when we started this company, Band Protocol, right? And I guess in short, what Band Protocol is we're building a decentralized Oracle. What that means is, what an Oracle is essentially someone who connect, or provide data in the real world, or essentially off-chain data, right, into blockchain application, smart contract, decentralized applications, so they can utilize it, right? And I guess for a newcomers, if you think about this decentralized application like DeFi, they are just machine, right? There's just like a deterministic machine. You press a button, you get some sort of result, right? And because it's a machine, it has no way to access information outside of that machine itself, right? And that machine is essentially a blockchain, right? So what we do is we essentially feed those data into the machine, so that it can be, it can run the logics and compute whatever they want to compute, right?
Right. Good explanation. And I guess like we most of us know Chainlink, or we know what oracles are from Chainlink. What is the difference? The main differences between Band Protocol and Chainlink?
Sure. Yeah, that's probably the most often asked question. And to be fair, it's not just Chainlink, right? I think there are many more other Oracle solutions in the market as well. I can count, at least 5 to 6 off the top of my head. Not gonna do a direct comparison because again, I think many of us choose really different design. But what makes Band, I guess, different is that we decide to build our Oracle solution on top of a new chain, right? Essentially, we took a Cosmos SDK, another prominent blockchain project, and built our own Band chain based on that, right? And what that does is essentially we have our own specific proof of stake blockchain called Band chain, right? So we have validators who essentially stake the Band tokens as a collateral to perform work on that network, right? And that work is essentially two things. One, you validate all these transactions to earn block reward. And in addition to that, they act as a data providers, right? Essentially, anyone who want to query data, they can write a really flexible Oracle script, right? Almost like a smart contract, but it's really optimized in a sense that you can't build a generic application, but you can ask for data, right? You say, oh, I want price of Bitcoin. I want it from, let's say, 5 data sources: Binance, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, Crypto Compare, and whatnot. And then you specify how you want to aggregate those data, right, from each of these validators. So most likely people use medianizers. Some may go and say, hey, if the data return different by 1%, reward the transaction, request the data again, right? So we built this really flexible Oracle platforms on top of the Cosmos SDK, and a few differentiating factors than what that really means, right? One, in terms of scalabilities, right? Because our Band chain is built specifically just for Oracle. It makes us much more again, much faster and more scalable than other oracles. It takes us less than 5-6 seconds to perform one oracle request. We can pack over 25 data point within just one oracle request itself, right? So make it much faster, make it much cheaper as well, because we don't need to depend on the underlying blockchain, right? We're based on, let's say, Ethereum, right? As the we want to ban, we found a lot of problem with that. Of course, I think a lot of industry players understand that with the gas fee and all that, right? It's become prohibitively expensive, as well as not really user friendly to do that. And that's why all the computation happened on band chain, and we only need to relay just one final result plus the proof, which is essentially the verification to the destination blockchain, right? And that make it much faster, much cheaper for a lot of these applications that require a lot more data point and update much more frequently.
Right. And does that mean, so if you guys have built your own blockchain, does that mean that who is the, I guess, like the target user of your Oracle then? Does that mean that I would be, so you're built on the Cosmos using Cosmos SDK, right? Does that mean that it's more or less focused on other Cosmos chains, or what's the relationship like there?
Right. So actually, we are blockchain agnostic, right? In the sense that all the computation happen on that chain, but the final result can be sent to any destination blockchain, right? Including Ethereum's, including Polkadot, Solana. There's other layer one that are coming to market. And what we do is essentially we build these bridges across multiple blockchain, right? Clearly, yes, if we need to answer the need for a Cosmos-based solutions, it's easier for us, given that the relayer is much easier to do, right? But right now, we already built a lot of bridges to all this layer one, including Ethereum's, Icon, Waves, Tron, and Binance Smart Chain, and many more in the future as well that are in the work. Because I mean, for us, we're in the view that we don't need to bet on any single layer one. We do think that, of course, respectfully, Ethereum is by far number one. We are working with a lot of DeFi and other application on top of Ethereum's, but at the same time, you're also seeing a lot of these legitimate layer one that are building with a more scalable architecture. So we want to make sure we are there to address all the needs, because I mean, you think about Oracle, it's a middleware protocol, right? Almost like an infrastructure level. If Oracle is endable and available in all these different blockchain, it makes developer experience much easier and faster because they don't need to maintain their own architectures, and they can decentralize that from day one.
Right. And I guess you mentioned that gas prices have gone sort of through the roof, and it's turned kind of operators and developers and builders on Ethereum, it's turned their lives kind of upside down. Does that let's say if I'm an Ethereum-based developer, does the fact that Band is its own blockchain, but I can still use Band via the relayer, does that mean that Band is actually more gas efficient then as well? Is it more efficient for me to use Band even though it's through the relayer?
Yeah, for sure. That's right. I mean, if you think about it, let's say this whole process, right? Usually what it means is somebody asks the data request. Let's say 10, 20 data validators go fetch the data, report each of that data back on chain. And then all those, let's say, imagine 5 data sources from 20 validators, those 100 data points are then being computed with the aggregated contract before being put out into the final result. If everything happened on Ethereum's, imagine that. That's almost 20, 25 transactions just to get to one final result, right? And we all know how much that costs. And how slow that is. But imagine this, right? All the middle part where all the computation, all the data requests, all the data aggregating methods happen on Band chain, and then just one final result is submitted on Ethereum's. That saves a lot of gas costs. That saves a lot of efficiencies, right? And not to say that it's not expensive, it still is, but at least it saves a significant amount of gas on that. And at the same time, we are our team is actively researching for a way to continuously optimize gas costs, like optimistic roll up and other methods that people are talking at the moment. So quite optimistic, no pun intended, but we can optimize a lot of these costs going forward.
Sounds like you have a favorite and the running for the level twos as well.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think we're testing multiple solutions.
Mhm. Got it, got it. I mean, it sounds like especially given what's going on in Ethereum, that the essentially an independent chain is sort of that the strategy is paying off. Have you also has this resulted in you guys seeing considerable kind of interest from developers? Then given that I don't actually know how much gas does do like a fully Ethereum based contracts even use. It's something that doesn't really get like talked about that much. How does like querying an oracle for its price? How does it work, and how much do you kind of pay, and who even pays, and how much to you? Have you guys seen sort of, I guess, like
Right.
increased traction from that side while being so much more competitive?
Yeah, for sure. On Ethereum, right? I mean, if you look at one transaction to request data, some of the on-chain, Oracle that we see can go up to like even, $200, $300 per request, right? And that's insane
Wow.
given that, if you want to update, let's say every 10 minutes, right?
Hmm.
It become really expensive to maintain that architecture. I mean, I think if you look at gas station and you look at the top 10 of people using gas, I can bet you that top two, I mean, at least 2 of 10 Oracle solution, right?
Hmm.
And and that's really expensive, right? Now, a question of who actually pay for it. Of course, I mean, developers and people who maintain the apps, there are two ways to do that, right? Either they subsidize the users or actually pass this on to user itself, right? In the form of some sort of taxation, either that a direct gas fee on top of the transaction, or they aggregate it and then obviously use that to pay for the gas, right? What we see though is that obviously a lot of people don't want to pay the full cost of that, right? And that's when network effect is quite big and important, in the sense that if you think about this price fee, it's like a public good, it's a public commodities. If we put it on chain, anyone can consume it, right? So that means the more projects are utilizing it, the more projects are using this reference price feed, the more cost that can be shared among different projects, right? Let's say price of ETH can be shared among 5 different projects, so then it end up costing just 10% of the actual cost or something like that, right?
Hmm.
So that we have been seeing the different dynamic with different companies, but of course this is a lot more centralized than most people like, because then it means that us or a company has to sort of coordinate between this, right? But I mean, I'm not a dreamer. I don't think we're going to be fully decentralized from day one. It's going to take a while to get there. So hopefully, over time, then that can happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think like so today most of the oracles or like most of the data, if not all, that is provided by the oracles is it's still crypto related data. Is the reason simply because that's the only one that there's demand for, or is there or is there some other reasons why, for example, there's less data around like
Mhm.
stocks, bonds, commodities, and some, I don't know, more exotic stuff.
Sure. I think I think we are seeing much more diverse crypto data requests now. The reason why most people talk about crypto related data is just simply because lending protocol market, money market protocol is probably in the spotlight in the past couple of months or year, right? With
Hmm.
Compound, with Maker, with Aave, right? Most of these is basically utilize crypto related data. And I mean, even with synthetics, where they talk about price of stock, most of the usages now you look at it is just USD or synthetics crypto asset, right?
Hmm.
So that means most of the use cases so far center around that. Now going forward in the next couple of months and years, we actually do see a lot more projects working on at their DeFi related theme, like the synthetic token derivative of the real world asset. And so yeah, we have seen in a lot increasing demand for that, like stock prices, bond, ETF, these commodities. It would take much longer because obviously if we talk about those product, right, those type of product, it target much more mainstream users, and that's gonna take a while to get there, right? Whereas crypto-related product, of course, you have crypto native like us who actually utilize the product already, so that's why
Hmm.
you see that. But yeah, Oracle, I mean, we are seeing that, and I think by next few months, some of these actually will come toward production level almost. And so yeah, that is that, stock price. And beyond that, I think a lot of gaming started to come into play. And most people don't really talk about that. Like, for example, random number generators, right? Most people don't realize that a lot of the random number generators can be fed with Oracle, right? Because obviously you can't do that in a deterministic way. You can't do that with without Oracle, essentially, right? And that is involved in everything from betting, gambling, to, let's say, even a normal game where you want to reward some users in a random way, right? And like you kill some monster, you get some random items, right? Almost every aspect of this game will require, some sort of random number generators, and that actually will generate quite a lot of revenue to a lot of these Oracle services, given that the frequencies of requests are much higher than the lending protocol and whatnot.
Oh, really? Wow. So I didn't know that. So it's not possible to generate a truly random number like as a game on chain then? That
Yeah.
I would need that. Oh wow, okay.
It's almost impossible, right? Because I mean, even with the concept of random number generators, it's never random, right? Everything is pseudo random, right? And if that pseudo random actually seed from some information, it has to seed from somewhere, essentially originate from some information. If you rely on those information purely from blockchain data, somebody will fund run you. Anyone can fund run you, like miners, people who have knowledge of that. It's really easy to game. So then it becomes really difficult to do that. And that's why you need to feed data from outside blockchain to seed some of these pseudo random algorithms, right? Or have some way to have some sort of like commit reviews mechanisms to make sure it's close to 100% as random as it gets.
Wow, interesting. And I guess, and where are you guys at with Band today? What are the most kind of exciting developments or features that you're looking forward to yourself, or that you're working on?
Right. So right now, I mean, you've been following us. We've been working with a lot of partners across different chain, waves and the icon. Each of these have a lot of application under them, like stable coin, other lending products. We are supporting all of them. We are moving also toward Ethereum as well. Most recently, we worked with Loopring, one of the biggest DEX, and most recently we also just integrate with Phantom. Also pretty cool. I really like the team. They're working on a lot of the different DeFi products across different ecosystem. Also as well by Andre, the god of DeFi right now. And so we've been really busy optimizing for two things. One, securities. Obviously, now that a lot of products or the apps are using us at a protocol level, we need to make sure we are 100% secure, right, and not prone to attack. And two, again, optimizing gas and usages. So we've been working really hard in creating this standard data set so that a lot of these newer or decentralized finance can start utilizing us without us having to handhold them. Right? Because previously we just sort of need to handhold them, do all the integration, and we work quite closely with our partners. But to make sure we are scalable, we've been working with over 20 plus projects, and so we need to make sure that standard data set is secure, live, and economically viable. So that's been our focus in the past few months. We are really excited. It should come to production really soon. And so yeah, in the next few months, going to be all about adoptions. I'm going to be working on a number of different products, not just money market. As I said, synthetic tokens, derivative, perpetual swap, and other swap products. I think those are quite exciting for us.
I mean, yeah, indeed, sounds like you guys have had so far definitely, and are still having a pretty crazy year. And,
yeah, that's right.
So something I forgot to ask before. So you mentioned validators and the important role they play in the network. Can anyone become a validator, or how does that work?
Right. So our blockchain is fully permissionless, right, and decentralized. Anyone can become our validators by running a band chain node, right? What they require is they have to have band tokens, right? And they stake that band token. So this is actually similar to Cosmos. If you stake the band token, then you have 21 days withdrawal period, so you can withdraw immediately. But in return, obviously, you need you get the block reward as well as the QE fee. So anyone who QE the data, this data got split among all these band chain validators, right? The only requirement, obviously, you need to have uptime. and you don't double sign and don't act maliciously. Otherwise, you risk of losing, your band token at stake, right? There is indirect penalties, direct slashing. There has been incident where some of the nodes actually got slashed by 5%, as much as 5% of their holding. And obviously there are indirect penalties in the sense that if you try to game the system, provide wrong data, it can jeopardize the band system. And obviously these validators have millions and millions of dollars of band at stake. So we try to make sure it's at the protocol level, they're economically incentivized not to attack and become, just be a good actor, right, in providing the data. So yeah, anyone can do that. We have a lot of communities, validators, who join us early on as band supporters. We have band Jedi running the nodes and a lot of that. So quite excited. And we're looking to expand all these validators to make sure it's as decentralized as possible.
Right. And how is the recent kind of, so I know that as a I can also stake my tokens to other validators, right? And earn a more like a double-digit APY on this. How has the kind of the recent trends in triple and quadruple digit APYs being the standard? How has that impacted your kind of protocols staking levels?
Right. Yeah, I think that's really funny, right? You brought it up. Yeah, we thought double-digit APY was pretty good until a few months
ago. To be honest, I mean, it's very good.
Yeah, until like last month, I guess that thing changed. Actually, the thing is, I think short answer is we don't see any impact right now. In fact, right now we are at an all-time high in terms of the number of tokens being bonded. Almost 85% of the entire network is actually being staked. And I think reason for that is twofold. One, I think people who stake are taking a much longer term view of the projects or being participated in the network, right? As opposed to people who are farmers that tend to be much more short terms and speculators. So I think that's one major difference, right? And of course, number two, again, because of that nature of short term of the being a farmer, if you want to unstake band to go farm those tokens, you need to wait 3 weeks, and God knows what can happen in 3 weeks in those APY, right? So I think that's why we don't see any withdrawal. If people want to farm with band, they usually buy it on the secondary market and then use that to farm, right? So I think we see really two different profile and group of validator or people who stake and earn this APY, and not to mention risk, right? I mean, the risk of staking in band and earn 2 digits, as opposed to the risk of putting in an unaudited smart contract to share those yields. I think that's a really different story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like you guys have done a good job in positioning yourself. I know you're super busy. Just a couple more sort of questions I'd love to hear your view on. Kind of, we spoke a lot about what's been going on, especially in the couple of months. What are you personally in DeFi most excited about and least excited about? You can start with either.
Sure. I think for me, the most exciting things is other innovation in other area, not just lending protocol, right? As I mentioned, derivative is one of the bet that I'm quite excited about, because that's where the real mass adoption may happen, right? My mom and my dad are not going to buy BTC, collateralize it, borrow some USD, and do that, right? But what's more likely gonna happen is my mom want to buy Apple stock, but it's really difficult and really expensive to do that in Thailand. And some of these products have a way to do that, right? If we're able to represent some of that on blockchain, create a good fiat on ramp, because some of the banks here in Thailand and in Asia and around the world are much more open to that now. That can create a truly global permissionless financial system, right? So I'm really excited on that. It's going to take a longer term, of course, to that adoption. But if that happens, that's when we can say truly, there are some real value created outside of just crypto native folks, right? That's number one. Number two, I think a different kind of swap product, like we see perpetual swap as one of the main, I guess having the highest volumes in terms of tradings. Right, and I'm quite excited to see more of that, not just decentralized perpetual swap, but credit swap, interest rate swap, even impermanent loss swap. Some of these derivative product that allows people to hedge, allow people to create much more complex financial products. I'm quite excited on that. And the DeFi space is huge, and obviously Oracle will be there. So I'm just here to explore multiple design options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm quite bullish on that.
And least excited about?
Least excited about, I would say, controversially, yield farming, because again, I don't think it's sustainable, right? I think it's a good way to incentivize users in the short term, but I guess you already see that with some of the recent yield farming pool, right? Once you run out of buyers, once you run out of that APY will come down. People will withdraw funds. There's no loyalties. So I think I think it's way overhyped in terms of yield farming. What is more important is how do we learn from this, and decide a much more sustainable way to actually reward users, to actually use the product and actually in love with the product, right? I mean, it's no different than issuing a free coupon to some users and they never come back, right? You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you incentivize them to use the product, love the product, and come back to use it, and have a way to long term, essentially create value for them, right? So yeah, I think I'm not really fond of these short term games, and I hope that in the next few months somebody will crack a better incentive program.
Well, fingers crossed. I appreciate the honesty. Two more kind of, I guess, very quick fire questions I'd love to get your opinion on. So yes or no, do you think ETH staking will come out this year?
Wait, sorry, you break up. Can you repeat that again?
Yes or no, do you think ETH staking will come out this year?
No.
And if you had to describe DeFi in one word, what does it mean to you?
In one word? Huh.
Yeah.
That's really difficult.
Take your time.
DeFi in one word. I'd say open. Yeah, open missions. Yeah. Yeah, I think for me that's important. Actually, going back to the last question on what I'm not excited about or what I don't get is actually the NFT, where people are talking about that right now on crypto Twitter. That I don't get. So yeah.
Where did that even come from? I don't get it. Like, we
I have no idea. I think the meme token was pumping, and I have no idea. I don't get it. I don't have time to dig into that right now as well. So again, not an informed decision. I don't have much information on it. So.
Got it. All right. I know you're super busy. Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a great conversation. Soravis from Band Protocol. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Cheers.